Okay, hello and welcome to this weather update. We have a lot going on with the weather. It was a warm day today, believe it or not. I think it hit 60 at Islip, and I want to go over several things regarding the weather. We got to go over the storm. We got to go over February's climatology, and we've got to go over this storm and what it's going to cause. I think I want to get no, we'll get the storm out of the way first because that's the most important thing. We have a very intense coastal storm that is going to undergo what we call bombogenesis offshore. Now, fortunately or unfortunately for snow lovers, it'll be too warm for snow, but we will have a lot of heavy precipitation and a lot of strong winds. And you can see areas to the north and west do have winter storm warnings. We have a high wind warning in effect here for our area. So these are the threats here, and we're going to go right into here and look at the latest briefing for the upcoming coastal storm from the National Weather Service. And this is the headline. So we have high wind warning expanded, winter storm warning for the inland areas, and a wind advisory for the interior areas. So the impacts here are going to be coastal impacts. There's going to be coastal beach erosion, flooding. We have a full moon, so there's high tide cycles, and the winds are going to gust up to 60 knots offshore, and very rough seas, and also here the damaging winds 25 to 40 miles an hour, gusts 50 to 60, and even stronger winds, possibly gusting to near hurricane force over the Twin Forks. So widespread power outages and trees down are likely. So there will be a lot of power outages. I'm anticipating it. And inland is the heavy wet snow. So we have the heavy wet snow inland, and there could be damage to power lines there too. And then the heavy rain, 2 to 3 inches, localized higher amounts, and that's almost over the entire region. So this shows you the summary of greatest impacts here. And you can see here, for mostly Long Island, we're going to be dealing with the heavy wind, the strong winds, and the heavy rain. And the coastal flooding. So that's areas along, there definitely will be coastal flooding along the low-lying areas along the South Shore and on the East End. And this shows you the winds here, wind gusts to 50 to 60 miles an hour. So this is going to be the strongest coastal storm we've had in quite some time. It will probably be a stronger storm. Wind, as far as the wind goes, stronger than the blizzard we had back in January that bombed out, and then inland is the heavy wet snow. We shouldn't see much of any snow here. There may be, I still think there might be a real slushy inch or two, perhaps over New Jersey, but probably not Long Island. And I'm talking even further south into New Jersey, all right? But with all these things going on, I really have to talk about the effects on Long Island. So potential for a period of accumulating snow all the way to the coast. And when we get to the computer models, we're gonna take a look at that. All right, and we're not going to talk about the long-range weather pattern or anything like that. We're just going to talk about this storm and February. So let's go right to these computer models and take a look at them. We'll actually change the regions because we want to get closer to the area to take a look at the storm in more detail. Here we go. It is the GFS 18Z run. And we're going to look at this low start to take shape here tonight. You can see it's starting to take shape here offshore. You can see how it starts getting wound up, and you can see how it's almost, look at how it forms, and then it almost backs in a little bit toward the coast. And as it does that, it's going to undergo bombogenesis and rapidly deepen. So by afternoon on Friday, we're going to start seeing some really strong winds and heavy rain, particularly over the Suffolk County, east end of Long Island. And then it starts to pull away as we head into Friday night into Saturday. But the winds will be with us probably right until we're going to be undergoing probably a period of roughly, I would say, 8 to 12 hours of some very strong winds over Long Island. So I think there will be probably a lot of power outages. How many do I think there'll be? If I could just make a guess, 50,000 perhaps, 50,000 outages, maybe 100,000. It will be a lot. Hopefully there won't be any power outages here or where you are. And then the storm pulls away, and then we hopefully will have dry weather. I'm not going to go past that right now, but I want to look at the rainfall totals, the maximum gusts, things like that. So let's go ahead and look at the precipitation, total rainfall for this storm. Let's go ahead and look at that. And look at that. Look at how much it's projecting. So uh, this is by Saturday morning. It's projecting over almost probably 3 inches on the east end of Long Island. This is incredibly high amount of rain. Much more. It looks like eastern Long Island, Long Island in general, but especially eastern Long Island, is in the bullseye for the heavy rainfall. And in New Jersey, it should be less, but eastern Long Island will get slammed with heavy rain. There's going to be a lot of flooding, and I'm sure the rivers and the lakes are going to be very high. This will probably, remember those ponds at Brookhaven? Well, we're going to get there this month, and it sure will probably be an amazing sight with those ponds absolutely filled to the brim and the rivers just flooding over their banks and stuff like that. So that's the amount of rain that the GFS is predicting. It's not predicting any snow, I don't think, for us. Let's see if it is. No, it's not predicting any snow at all. Let's take a look at the... Let's do the wind. Let's do the surface wind, or it doesn't do the surface wind. All right, well, let's go ahead and look at the NAM now, because the NAM is completely different. Let's just go back to what we were looking at before. Let's go ahead and look at the NAM, and there's a divergence between the two models, and this is what's making it difficult, so let's back it up. All right, so here's the NAM, and the NAM is a divergence, or at least it has been divergent. So let's see what happens here. You see the coastal start to take shape, and there it is, starting to rapidly deepen. See, take a look at that number. That's the barometric pressure in the center is dropping like a rock as we go into Friday. But you see, the NAM brings in a little more cold air, more so over New Jersey than over Long Island. This thing is so wound up, it could actually be warmer on parts of Long Island than it will be in New Jersey, southern New Jersey I'm talking about. So again, a lot of this is going to be intensity driven as the air column cools because the temperatures are borderline. That snow could fall, and we could see some mixing with snow even here on Long Island as we go into Friday evening. Yeah, look at that. So the NAM is, you see how the NAM is completely different and gives us some snow on the back side. And that's why I'm thinking that maybe a slushy couple of inches is possible for Saturday, particularly Nassau County, city, more so probably New Jersey. I'm curious to see what this has for snowfall. So let's go ahead and look at total snowfall. All right, and see how this has snowfall. So yeah, it actually gives, it doesn't really give us a whole lot, but it only gives us like maybe an inch or two at most. But parts of New Jersey could get 6 or 7 inches here. But you got to remember, a lot of this may not stick. What we have to go is we have to go ahead and look at something called positive snow growth. So this is how this is what will actually be on the ground. So because of the melting, because of the borderline temperatures, but still, you know, you could see 5 inches in parts of central Jersey. Probably, it looks like right over Ocean, western parts of Ocean County, maybe parts of Monmouth County going into Burlington. So, you know, it's a possibility. It's a possibility. It's very, very hard to predict because the temperatures are so borderline. And I think the snow will have a hard time sticking, but I think we could see, you know, I'll be a little more conservative than the NAM, and I'll go in between and say we could see maybe a couple of inches of slushy accumulation in New Jersey. But as far as Long Island goes, I think the main problem here is going to be that wind. That's going to be a huge problem. That wind is going to be just roaring and giving us a lot of problems. And let's go ahead and now look at the current conditions across our area. Right now, it's not too bad. Let's go ahead and go back to the Weather Service's website, and let's go ahead and look at the current conditions here. And Islip did hit 60 today. I'll just show you that. Islip did hit 60, so hold on. We'll wait for that to pop up. It's taking some time. Yeah, so it's down to 52 now, but it was a warm day today. It actually did wind up hitting 60 degrees at Islip. There's the high of 60 degrees right there at Islip. So it was a warm day today, despite being overcast. The 60 degrees is over 15 degrees above normal for the high. So again, very warm month. Now we're going to go to the climate section of this weather report. So here we go. We're going to look at the climate data for New York City. All right, we're going to look at 2 reports here. This is the preliminary report for Central Park. All right, you can see all the all the warm temperatures there we've had. All right, so here's the story. It was the warmest February on record in Central Park. No surprise, I knew we would do it. The old record was set just last year, 41.6 average mean temperature, and that is now it went up to 42, which is the average temperature. So average mean temperature for Central Park in February. So this sets a record, average 6.7 degrees above normal, and this was not a news story anywhere. Not a news story anywhere. It didn't make the news. I can't even find an article on it. I just had to look up the old record, which is 41.6. So the mean temperature February, I can give you the old article here. The mean temperature was 40. So a lot of the records were set in the past 10 years, which should tell you something. You know, ever since these SUVs came on the road, the temperature on this planet has shot up like a rock. You know that they're connected. All right. So we've had 5.83 inches of rain at Central Park. Not a record for February, but we should take a look at the amount of rainy days we've had in February, and that was 17 days of rain in February. 17 days, a 28-day month, so there were only 11 days that were dry in the entire month, and only 7 days that were, according to this, that were clear. I don't know how this is something else entirely. I don't know how to read that, but let's go ahead. I'm going to look at the main report here. All right, so we're going to look at monthly weather summary. All right, so this is the actual monthly weather summary. So again, there's our mean temperature 42, which is a record. Last year's was 41.6. It should say record there. It was a record. Like I said, I'll put the article in for you. I don't know why it wasn't. And there's our record of 78, the warmest temperature ever recorded in Central Park in February, set on the 21st, and our precipitation. No, we did not break the precipitation record, but we did have a lot of rain. Definitely one of the wettest Februarys, but not the wettest February. And so, really, here we go, a number of days with rain. So light rain, heavy rain, and a lot of rainy days, a lot of days with fog, even haze. A very warm, wet month, a very tropical month, and highly, highly abnormal. But it's not being talked about in the media. No, you know what? They're too busy talking about. So, yeah, even with the storm coming, News 12 spent maybe 1 minute on the storm, and most of the newscast was about, well, you know what it was about. I don't have to tell you. I'm not even going to say it. So here we go. Here's the official record report from the Weather Service. Record maximum temperature for a winter season set at Central Park. All right, so that is the 78-degree record was set at Central Park on Wednesday, February 21st. That also breaks it. So it doesn't really have for the warmest February on record, but it is the warmest February on record at New York. I don't know why they never put a special report out for that, but, they probably don't want you to know. So we're just going to wrap up with the sea surface temperature anomaly chart, just to show you what's going to fuel this storm that we have. And we have some really warm water temperatures off the New England coast that are going to fuel this storm. And it's also going to take a very unusual movement off to the southeast and keep it over warm water, which will keep its strength. And I know it's like we're talking about a tropical storm here. But, hey, hurricanes in the winter, don't write anything off the way the climate is going. Let me tell you. Not that anyone in the media or anyone in the government or anyone in the White House seems to care. They're blissfully unaware while our planet crumbles around us. Anyway, that is it for this weather update. I don't really want to get too much into the whole climate thing, but it just had to tell you about that record. So that is it. Be safe tomorrow. It's going to be a rough day on Long Island, and hopefully your power stays on. Take care.